Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. I'm your host, your double E, Ina Esco. This is the pod that intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment with a Memphis flair. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on all streaming platforms and that Ina Esco YouTube channel as well. Hey guys, I'm really excited because I have one of my fellow alum from LeMoyne Owen College, the only HBCU, the blackest of the blackest college in the city of Memphis, LeMoyne Owen College. And he is the athletic director and head coach over there at Southwest Tennessee Community College. He's originally from Ohio, but we're going to claim him here in Memphis. And he has coached nothing but elite athletes all around the world. I'm talking about Mr. Jarrett Stephens. What's up, Jarrett?
What's up, Ina Esco? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me on. I've been waiting on my chance.
Yes. Well, you know, Verbally Effective is ongoing, so I was going to call you, but I think we were at Love. How long ago was that?
That was a while when we first started talking.
Not quite a year,
it.
though.
Not quite, but almost.
But you've been busy.
We've been busy.
We have been busy.
Yes.
We have been busy. I don't think I mentioned he's a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity as well. So, you know, we're going to get into some of our LOC stories throughout the podcast. But we're going to start at the beginning because I did mention Jarrett is originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yep. That's
Tell
right.
me about Cleveland.
Cleveland, born and raised. I grew up on the west side of Cleveland in a suburb called Strongsville High School. Strongsville High School is the name of the high school I graduated from.
Wow.
It was a predominantly white high school.
In Cleveland?
In Cleveland.
When I think Cleveland, I think black.
East side.
Okay. Gotcha.
I grew up on the west side.
Okay.
So, you know, friends, family, hanging out, stuff like that took place on the east side. But as far as home, school was on the west side. Mm-hmm. So when it came time for me to figure out where it was I wanted to go to college, I knew based off of the adversities I had to deal with growing up in a suburb as one of the only black children in class or in this program or that program, I had to deal with a lot of prejudice growing up. So that helped inspire and motivate me to want to go to a HBCU.
And how did you find LeMoyne Owen College over there in Cleveland, Ohio?
They had a black college fair at Cuyahoga Community College, in which many black colleges had tables set up around the room. And I was actually walking past the LeMoyne Owen table. I think I was leaving maybe Clark, Atlanta, going past LeMoyne Owen because I had never heard of it, to maybe North Carolina Central or something like that. And the recruiter at the time, name was Adrian Stitt. I don't know if you remember him.
I do.
But he actually caught my mom's attention as we were walking by and brought us over to the table, started talking, showed us a beautiful pamphlet with Brownlee on the front and GOH. You know, you open it up, you see all
it look nice.
You see all the great programs and, you know, caught our attention. And I came down on a visit. Because they were talking, you know, scholarship money for this. I actually received scholarship money for the gospel choir.
I did not know that, Jarrett.
And also for baseball.
Okay.
From Coach Jennings.
Okay.
So I came down on a visit, went to a gospel choir concert, was blown away.
Oh, they had a great program back then.
Definitely. Went to a basketball game. The Bros, the men of Omega Psi Phi, one of them was one of my host. So I was hanging with the Qs at the basketball game. Went out afterwards, hung out a little bit.
Oh, you was like, I'm in Memphis,
yeah,
baby.
I'm good. You know, I had a great time. Went home, told my family I had a great time. And that's kind of how it happened.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. Now, you did mention that you dealt with a lot of adversity growing up over there in Cleveland. How did you deal with it as a young man?
It was difficult. Like, my parents did a great job of keeping me grounded, me and my sister grounded, letting us know who we are, what our culture is. Like I said, our family was on the other side of town or in Columbus or in Chicago or Detroit. You know, went to an all-black church. We were really well grounded, but as far as dealing with the prejudice as a child, it was difficult because, like I said, most of the time I was the only or maybe one of two black kids in a class or on a team. So even as a young child, having to deal with the name calling, hating my school, you know, wanting to go to a different school, having older white people want to rub me on my head, rub my hair on top of my head, being singled out by teachers for different things that were happening in class or around the school. It was difficult. But like I said, my family did a really good job of, you know, kind of help getting me through that adversity. Oh, wow. Although I still wanted to transfer all the way up to my senior year. Didn't want to go to graduation or any of that.
Wow, it was deep.
It was deep. Now, I had a good core group of friends that were either in my grade, a grade lower, a grade higher, other brothers that were in a similar situation. That was kind of my crew. And to this day, we're still friends. It's like 6 of us that go back to 89, 90.
Wow.
That kind of helped get through that. We all kind of got through that journey together.
How often do you go back to Cleveland, Ohio?
It's been a long time.
Really? Are your parents not there?
My parents are in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So when I was at LeMoyne, my parents moved to Vegas, I think in like 98, 97, 98, something like that. And I was upset because they were moving. Although I hated where I lived, my friends were there. I still had my crew there. It was still the house I grew up in, all of that. But then when I went to visit, I got over that pretty quick.
Oh, hell, in Vegas?
Yeah,
Come on, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I got over that pretty quick.
Wow. Now let's talk about when you entered at LeMoyne Owen College.
Okay.
Now you talked about your visit with your host of Omega Psi Phi.
That's right.
Now, that freshman year that you had, how was that experience? Were things like how they portrayed them to be from the recruiter?
No.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Some of it was.
Okay.
It was ups and downs. You know my circle. You know, I ended up linking up with some guys that were, everybody was from somewhere else. You know, there was a couple of guys from Atlanta. Yeah. There was a couple of guys from Indiana. There was a couple of guys from New York.
Yeah, very diverse.
Very diverse, but we were all from somewhere else. So we kind of helped each other with the culture shift. You know, the music was different. Because I grew up on like East Coast hip hop.
East Coast.
I may have heard a few 8 Ball and MJG songs.
Maybe not 3-6.
But not everything Memphis music when you get here with that same cadence and that same beat. And I didn't like it when I first got here. I love it now.
It grew on you.
It grew on me. You know, the different clothes, the Jerry curls, like the
gold
accents,
teeth.
the gold teeth. You know, it was a culture shift, and it was cool, but it was also me and my crew had to deal with some adversities because we were from somewhere else. Like some people were cool with us because we were from somewhere else, but then a lot of people that were already here, a lot of guys basically didn't like us because we were from somewhere else.
Yeah, you gonna always deal with that.
You know how that go. But it was cool. You know, it grew on me, and I came here. You probably didn't know this. I came here freshman year, first semester, and then transferred at the semester.
I didn't know that.
And went back home.
Why?
To Bowling Green State University.
What made you do that?
It was a combination of not doing any schoolwork, getting in different situations, whether it was fights or having guns pulled on me or being in the wrong place or the wrong time. And you combine that with a touch of being homesick, all of those things bottled together, plus my parents saying, no, you ain't doing nothing down there. You need to come home. You ain't going to class. You're not. You need to come home.
You hit Memphis and went right in.
I went in, yeah. I went in. So I went.
Wow.
I transferred for a semester. My sister and my best friend from home went to Bowling Green, got to Bowling Green, and missed Memphis. Had to get back.
Had to get back.
Came right back. Came right back the following semester.
I bet you got your stuff together.
I did. Yep, I did. But I missed the step shows. I missed my crew of guys that I met here. I missed the culture. Like once I left it, I missed it and came back.
Yeah. What do you think is the magic of LOC? You know, we're the magicians. What is so magical about LeMoyne Owen College?
That is a great question. I think the magic is in the relationships.
Yeah.
And I would say because the relationships from not only like the professor-student relationship, you know, if you're not in class, they'll call your dorm. Back then, Jarrett, why aren't you in class?
They care.
You know, I had specific professors do that. You know, from Ms. Jodelle Cox to come in and you know, knocking on our dorm room when we in there doing stuff we ain't had no business doing.
Yep, quite a bit. Yep.
Right. You know, I think it's the relationships, and then the relationships with, you know, people like yourself and some of my guys and other females that I really grew. Like, the relationships is the magic, because it's really a family-oriented place.
It is.
You know, and everybody was transparent, like your podcast. Everybody was transparent, and it was kind of like LOC versus the world.
You're right. And sometimes I still feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, do you feel like that sometimes, even to this day?
Sometimes.
As a graduate of LeMoyne.
I do sometimes, because people don't understand the value and the richness and the magic that takes place over there.
True.
You know, because the relationships, like right now, I have relationships with people from LeMoyne that are all over the world right now, not just in Memphis, because we, you know, a lot of us scattered.
Yeah.
So it's great relationships all over the place, genuine relationships.
Yes. Well, Jarrett, tell us what happened when you graduated from LeMoyne. What immediately happened in your life?
When I graduated, leading up to graduation, I was contemplating going back to Cleveland.
Cleveland was still in your back pocket,
Cleveland was still in my back pocket.
Even though mom and dad was in Vegas.
Even though they were gone.
You want to go see your friends.
I wanted to go back home and be with my family and be with my friends. And I didn't have, at the time, anything like concrete in front of me as far as what's next.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember Dr. Zaki.
Yes.
So,
he had me reading in class to everybody all the time.
So Dr. Zaki, that was my guy. I was a political science major, so I was real close with Dr. Zaki. He wanted me to go into this ambassadors program in D.C. And then, because at the time, I was contemplating law school, but I didn't want to go back to school anymore. So he was like, okay, well, get in this ambassadors program. You would be great to be an ambassador, like a U.S. ambassador, and you can go all over the world, do this, that, and the other. So I was like, okay, well, that sounds cool, but let me go back to Cleveland instead. I don't want to go all over the world, because it was wars and all this going on at the time. So probably 2 months before I was about to leave, Michael Hooks Jr. is my frat brother. We were friends. And I think at the time he might have been on the school board.
Yeah, around that time.
Around that time, I think he was on the school board. And he was like, dog, you know, you can try to teach if you want to. I can help you, you know, get an interview. You know, I can't get you a job, but I can introduce you to the right people, you know, to set you up for that. I was like, okay, well, I'll think about it. And then that's what I ended up doing. I started teaching, and I was still coaching.
Wow.
So,
and was a poli-sci major?
As a political science major, yeah.
Wow. And sometimes that happens. Yep. And, you know, I have a senior in high school right now, and it seems like, you know, they get really confused at that point of, or unless they have it all mapped out. But, you know, me and my husband just knew we were, you know, enriching in my son. You know, it's college. It's college after graduation. That boy told us no. He has a 4.3 GPA, naturally smart, could easily get a scholarship. Okay. He does not want to go to college. Okay. He wants to be a full-time entrepreneur and has started a business. But it's just, you know, interesting to see how people's lives pan out, like when they make their own decisions, and how things just can go either way.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And you deal with a lot of young men, I do, very impressionable on their lives.
I do.
So, look, we're going to get into more of that and your new position over there as the athletic director and head coach at Southwest Tennessee Community College after we take this break, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, guys, Verbally Effective audience, stay tuned. We'll be back with Jarrett Stephens. Hey guys, it's Ina Esco. We're back on the Verbally Effective podcast, the pod that intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment with a Memphis flair. And I have with me one of my good friends, Jarrett Stephens. He is the athletic director and head coach over there at Southwest Tennessee Community College. And Jarrett, before we get into your new role in Memphis, I want to kind of sneak back to after you graduated from LeMoyne, because I know that kind of began your journey with coaching. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I actually started coaching in '97. So I had walked on to the basketball team at LeMoyne. I had tore my rotator cuff, stopped playing, and started coaching AAU while I was still at LeMoyne.
I did not know that, Jarrett. Yep. How did you get into that?
I got into that with Will Anderson, the current athletic director at LeMoyne Owen College. He is the one that introduced me and kind of plugged me with that. Yep.
So that's how it started.
That's how it started in '97, and then when I graduated in 2000, I was still doing the AAU stuff, and I started teaching. My first teaching job was at Levi Elementary.
Wow.
I was teaching 2nd through 6th grade science lab. Yeah, I was science teacher.
How did that go?
It was cool. It was interesting.
Such an impressionable age right there.
Right. So I did that, and then that following year I went to Treadwell, and I was that's when I started coaching at the high school. I was the JV head coach, varsity assistant coach. And then that next year, the head coach, varsity coach left, and I got the varsity head coaching job at Treadwell in 01.
Wow.
And at the time, I was the youngest head coach in the city.
Wow.
Yep.
How did you enjoy, like, you know, the high schoolers? Did they, you know, have a huge respect for you as a coach? And I know, like, as an athlete, because I'm a former athlete, you know, we kind of live and die by what our coaches say. And, you know, they're very impressionable on, you know, everything that we do. So how was your dynamic with those high schoolers back then?
It was good.
In Memphis.
It was good. It was tough.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of distractions in their lives. I was young. My approach might not have always been the best at the time as far as expressing and conveying the lessons or what's the word I'm looking for? Or orchestrating or facilitating the lessons that needed to be taught to those young men. Like, I did it, but if I could go back, I would, with knowing what I know now, there may be a few things that I did differently. But it was great relationships. I still have relationships with some of those guys to this day. And I'm proud to, you know, one of them is an electrician. He comes and does all my stuff at my house.
Wow.
You know, one of them is a police officer. Like, a lot of them are doing a lot of great things. So that's where the reward comes in.
Yeah.
You know, when you're not at that super high level of coaching where you're making the big bucks, you know, your reward comes in when you see the success from the young people that you're dealing with.
Wow. I totally can feel you on that. Seeing your students excel and do well in life is very rewarding.
Very.
Now let's talk about when you moved to Florida.
So before I moved to Florida, I left Treadwell. I moved to Atlanta for about 3.5 years.
Coaching?
Training at first. And then I started coaching at Clark Atlanta.
Really?
Yeah, I coached at Clark Atlanta for a year. And then I moved back to Memphis for a year and coached at LeMoyne.
Okay.
I was the associate head coach at LeMoyne with my line brother, William Anderson. He was the head coach in the AD. Then I moved to Florida.
Then you moved to Florida.
Then I moved to Florida. And my first move to Florida, I took a high school coaching job. I was a head varsity coach and a dean at a high school, which is like, you know how, well, back in the day here, your vice principals did the discipline. There, the deans do the discipline.
The discipline.
Yeah, the discipline.
Okay.
So I was a dean and a varsity head coach, did that for a couple of years, got the college coaching itch back. Started coaching at I was an assistant coach at a junior college down there for a couple of years, Indian River State College.
Wow.
Then moved to IMG Academy.
It's a lot of moving
It's a lot
going
of movement.
on.
Yep, moved to IMG Academy to train the pros and NBA guys and college guys that were getting ready for the draft or already in the NBA.
How was that experience?
It was fun.
Because that was much different from what you were previously doing.
It was fun. It was fun. I was prepared for that position when I was in Atlanta. Because when I was in Atlanta, I was training pros and college guys. So that helped me get the position at IMG Academy. So that was fun. Had a chance to work with a lot of NBA guys, do the pre-draft for a few lottery picks. Some guys from Memphis came down to work.
Wow.
Sean Williams was one of the guys that came down to Memphis to work. Jarnell Stokes, Cameron Payne. A lot of these guys came to IMG for their training. And I was able to work with, you know, those guys when they were down there.
So you plugged in with a lot of these professional athletes. I already know that, though.
There's some relationships out there. So I left there and went to Florida A&M University as an assistant.
And how was that? How long were you there?
I was there for 4 years.
Oh, that's a long time compared to this year here, this year there.
Yeah.
Tell me about, how did you like Florida? comparable to everywhere else?
I love Florida.
What you love about Florida? Because I don't hear everybody say they love Florida. They like the vacation in Florida, maybe.
I like the vacation in Florida.
Okay. Do you like the politics in Florida? Poli-sci major?
No.
No? But you can deal with it. You can deal with it.
But I can deal with it.
What is it about Florida?
Florida for me is peaceful.
It is.
You know, because I wasn't living in like the Miamis or the Fort Lauderdales. I was living in kind of like smaller towns. So it was peaceful. You know, I love the water. I love going to the beach randomly just to catch a sunset.
Yes, I love the beach too.
Just to go and meditate and, you know, palm trees and clear skies and nice weather year round.
Year round.
And my kids are in Florida.
Yeah.
So, you know, I love Florida. It's a great place. I just feel better as soon as the plane lands and I start driving around and see the palm trees. I feel,
and see the ocean. You're I'm
good.
here for a good time, not a long time.
Right. So I love it.
Okay.
Yep, I loved it.
So you have had, you know, a lot of experience in this basketball athletic world. And now you're the head coach and athletic director at Southwest.
Yes.
Tell me about how that came about.
Like I told you, I honestly know that it was a divine placement.
Why is that, Jarrett?
Because I always said I would never come back to Memphis.
You did?
I did.
Why would you say that?
I said the only ways I would have came back to Memphis is if I was coaching with the Grizzlies or coaching at the University of Memphis.
Okay.
That's what because I was in professional mode at the time. So with that being in the back of my mind, I wasn't, you know, trying to make an effort to get back to Memphis. I was still, you know, I was coaching at a Division I program, Florida A&M. We were having success. Everything was good. So the way it happened, long story short, the summer going into last year, not this current, but last year, 21-22, so that would have been the summer of 21. Really even going back to 20, I felt as though I was ready for a head coaching job, a head college coaching job. But I knew that I needed to stay where I was at to get prepared for when that opportunity came. So when in the summer, early summer of 21, the job at Southwest came open, the basketball job, not the AD, just the basketball job. So I randomly put my application in, just cold. You didn't call anybody. I made one call and was told that the interim coach had just won the championship. So I said, oh, well, they're going to give it to him. Ain't no point in me, you know, even starting to call my relationships to start trying to work that angle, because, you know, you got to recruit a job when you want a job. So I didn't do that. I just kept, I did the app and just kept going about my business. So in the meantime, I had interviewed for 2 head coaching jobs in Florida. One was a junior college in Florida, and another one was a Division II job in Florida, which I felt both were perfect for me. Still in Florida.
With the sun in the ocean.
With the sun in the ocean. Both of those opportunities got me closer to my kids. So I was a Division I coach in the state. To me, everything lined up for me to get one of those 2 jobs. But the reality of it was going through that process of the interview process, going through the committees, becoming a finalist and all that, and getting turned down prepared me for the Southwest process. So those interviews were getting me ready for the Southwest one. Little did I know. Okay. So I didn't get either one of those jobs. I'm going about my business. I start getting a phone call from a 901 number in Memphis. And I applied for the job maybe in early March. Started getting the call mid-March. Didn't answer it. Somebody from Memphis, I would have the number. I don't need I'm not going to answer a random number. I know everybody in Memphis. Like, who is this?
Who is this?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer this, you know. So I did that for probably like the same number called me twice a week for probably until June.
You didn't leave a voicemail?
No voicemail, no anything. Or if they did, I didn't check it because I don't check my voicemails. So FYI, if you call me and I don't answer,
Jarrett,
send me a text.
Okay. I got
I check my voicemails, you know, after they build up. So that goes on. I'm going about my business, Florida A&M. I'm locked in. You know, we getting ready for this upcoming season. We got a foreign tour. We're getting ready to go to Puerto Rico. All it is, I'm locked in. So one day, early June, I get the call again. I'm sitting in my office talking to one of the other assistant coaches at Florida A&M, one of the younger guys, kind of just giving them my perspective on how I do something, one of the coaching things, whatever. So the phone call came in again. I said, man, let me answer this call. These folks keep calling me. Let me answer
Who is this?
Yeah, ain't no bill collectors calling from Memphis. So I answered, hello? Yeah, is this Jarrett Stephens? Yeah, who's calling? Who's calling? This is such and such from Southwest Tennessee Community College. And it's not even registering to me yet because I had applied back in March, and this is June.
Wow.
So I'm not, how can I help you? Okay, how can I help you? Are you still interested in the job as head coach of our men's basketball team? Yeah, I am, actually. Actually, I am.
Okay.
So, okay, well, we've already started the interview process. We've already gone through a round of interviewees. We've already conducted, before we finish it up, we're impressed by your resume. We would like to interview you before we make our final decision. Now, mind you, I hadn't called anybody. I hadn't done any of this random cold call resume, which rarely works in any profession. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. They were like, well, are you available tomorrow at 3 o'clock? Now, mind you, I'm in Florida A&M mode still. No, I got practice tomorrow at that time because I'm still in mode. Right. I got responsibilities here. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I have practice at that time. They're like, okay, well, that might have been like a Wednesday. Well, can you do it Thursday because we want to wrap up this round by Friday, and the committee's going to be all. They gave me. I said, okay, well, I have to check because on Thursday I got this same time slot, but okay, we'll get it done. I'll make it work. So long story short, I went through the process. Once I got through the first round of interviews, I said, okay, well, this might really actually be something. Let me start making my calls. Because I knew I was ready for a head coaching job. And it only made sense to me that, okay, well, I thought it was these Florida jobs. But if I'm going to get my first head college coaching job, it makes sense for it to be in Memphis because of the support system that I have in Memphis.
Okay.
From my LOC family, from my fraternity brothers, from other networking opportunities that I've done over the years. Okay, well, it makes sense. Well, let me go ahead and try to get this job now. So I had Penny Hardaway made a call and sent a letter in for me. Josh Pastner, former coach, current coach at Georgia Tech, he put a call in for me, sent an email for me. Mike White, who was the head coach at Florida Gators at the time, who's now at the University of Georgia, put a call in for me. Mikhail put a call in for me. So I started, okay, well, let me call my people now and let me go ahead and work.
Let's do this. Let's do it.
Go ahead and work. So went through the process, and it happened. Once it started, it happened quick. In like 2 weeks, I got to the final part, and they were like, okay, well, this is after the final interview with the president. It was like committee, then it was a smaller committee, then it was me and the president one-on-one. And, okay, well, after her and I met, she sent me back to the VP that was over the process. And she was like, okay, well, we like you. We'd like to offer you the job. Here's the particulars. Would you also be interested in the athletic director job?
Boom.
Athletic director?
Come on, divine intervention.
Come on, divine.
Come on.
So I was like, well, in my mind, I'm like, well, I've never had even an aspiration to go into athletic administration. But it's a whole nother avenue that was being presented to me because, a lot of times our blessings happen and we have no idea of the greatness that's about to be in store for us.
Bountiful.
Yeah, so what does that all entail? Well, how does that change these particulars? So once we got through all that, I was like, yeah. So
wow.
They offered me the job. I'm sitting in my office at Florida A&M. I got off the phone. They offered me the job. I got up off my desk, got to the elevator as fast as I could, got off the elevator, got in my car as fast as I could, and just lost it.
Lost it.
Lost it. Complete lost it.
I know you did.
Complete lost it. Breakdown.
Was it hard to tell the folks at good old Florida A&M goodbye?
Whenever I've changed positions, the hardest part is telling the team.
The team, yeah.
When different high schools that I may have left from or different colleges I've coached and I may have left for another opportunity. That's the hard part because the relationships are real. You know, and when even though people are going to be happy for you, but the relationships that are built, like it's real love there. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm not leaving you because I don't like you. You know, there's another opportunity that's in store for me, or in this place, a divine opportunity that I have to go take advantage of. And they understood, but it was difficult. Yeah. It was difficult. Moving further away from my kids was difficult. Yeah. Because at that time it was still a drive, and now it's a flight.
It's a flight.
Flights. Mm-hmm. So it's but yeah, that's how it happened.
Wow, that is amazing. If you could describe your coaching style, what would you say?
I would say that I use basketball as a tool to get their attention to help boys become men.
Okay, break that down for me.
So in sports, you were an athlete, and we'll just talk basketball. There's a lot of things that take place in basketball that relate directly with life. Whether, you know, it's a lot of lessons can be learned. One of the main ones I talk about a lot is discipline, mental discipline. Because if you're mentally disciplined in everything that you're doing in all avenues of life, that's going to help you, give you a chance to succeed. So I just try to so whenever I'm correcting somebody, whether it's, communication, that's another one. Okay, well, if we're going to communicate, if you're communicating with your teammate on the court, use specific communication. Because in life, you're going to have to use specific communication when you're talking to your coworkers, when you're talking to your supervisors, when you're talking to your spouse, when you're talking to your children, you have to use specific communication.
Specific.
You know, whether it's body language, how, you know, somebody's always watching you. Your body language could send the wrong message. If they don't know you, if they don't know who you are, Ina Esco, as a person, and they see you with resting bee face on, right? But don't know you, and they see you from afar, they might judge you based off of your body language. So I try to get my young men to understand that, no, you got to tighten up your body language. You can't be out here pouting. You know, your age doesn't make you a man, your behavior makes you a man. So I always challenge them, are you a boy or are you a man? Because you might be 18, 19, 21, 22, but if you're out here pouting when something don't go your way, that's not man behavior. You know, how are you going to be a father and walking around, your child sees you pouting and moping and shutting down when something doesn't go their way? How are you going to correct them? Okay. You know, so I try to, those are just a couple of examples of how I try to utilize the tool. The basketball is a tool to help them become men. And the basketball is going to take care of itself. Yeah. Because they're talented. Yeah. They're talented. And if they're disciplined enough to take coaching and learn, and disciplined enough to follow a game plan, then we'll have success.
You give me them I don't play vibes.
I don't.
I feel it.
I don't.
Like there is a structure to what we're doing in this program.
There's a lot of structure.
Follow it.
There is, but in order for them to follow it or make it easier for them to follow it, they have to know it comes from a place of love and from a place of care. And from, no, I'm trying to make you a man, like help you to become a man. I'm partnering with your family, those that have family, to help you to become a man.
Yeah, and that's what they need.
Because that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Basketball is going to take care of itself. I need you to become a man, so when you leave me, you're better prepared for what you got to face. Yes. This is cool. This is a controlled environment. Let's learn these lessons now. Yeah. You know, not letting your teammate down because you're pissed off about something. What, you going to let your wife down because you pissed off? You ain't going to go to work the next day? Yeah. You know, so that's kind of what I do.
Kind of a slick therapist.
Yeah, ain't no slick.
Ain't no slick. It's
slick.
Very therapeutic.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic.
Wow. Now, I know you said it was kind of daunting when they told you about the AD position. How is that going? And is it really like as intimidating as it first sounded, or are you good? Like, oh, okay, I got this.
When it was presented to me, I knew it was going to be a lot of work involved. Once I got here and started with the work, I realized how much work was involved. It's basically paperwork for the most part. It's direction, it's leadership, you know, with your other coaches, with the student athletes in the various programs. But it comes down to paperwork and compliance. And when I first got here, I knew a little bit about it because as a college coach, you have to be familiar with reading transcripts and eligibility and things of that nature. But it's so much more that goes into it. And now that I have a great team, in my athletic department with my athletic specialist and an assistant, now everything runs smooth. But it was a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, but it sound like you got it down packed now.
I'm always learning.
Hey, and that's a good motto to have. I'm always learning.
Always
you never
learning.
know everything. You
Never.
never. Now, what does like the athletic community look like in Memphis now? Because Memphis Grizzlies, we got Ja Morant and this dynamic, fiery Grizzlies team that everybody's raving about. Like, has that brought more attention to your program and what you're doing? What does like the athletic community look like right now?
In Memphis, even dating back to when Southwest was Shelby State, just kind of looking at the lay of the land in Memphis, you know, everybody loves the Grizzlies. Everybody loves the University of Memphis Tigers. LeMoyne Owen and Southwest are kind of the stepchild children. And although both have great opportunities for students, period, but for student athletes, both have great opportunities. LeMoyne Owen is a Division II program in the SIAC, which is a very strong Division II program. LeMoyne has had a lot of success dating back to Coach Johnson. Southwest, previously Shelby State, going back to Coach Verdi Sales. Both programs have had a lot of success historically, but from a basketball landscape in Memphis, everybody kind of looks at those two opportunities as kind of like fallback opportunities. And it's unfortunate because they're great opportunities, but that's kind of what it is. Whereas people from out of town look at those two opportunities as great opportunities.
Right.
And a lot of people from Memphis that may have gone elsewhere to participate in the sport and come back to LeMoyne or come back to Southwest, many people have success, you know, and they go on to be successful. But as far as first choice is concerned, from my perspective, what I see is, unfortunately, people kind of look down on those two programs.
Still to this day.
Still to this day.
So that's going to be an ongoing thing?
Not necessarily. I think it's just a matter of, you know, success breeds. The more success you have, the more people are interested or will consider it.
And I think that's like a Memphis thing too, kind of. You learning that?
Yeah, I've known that.
You've known that.
You're forgetting I'm honorary Memphis.
Oh, yes, you're honorary, like myself.
Yes.
Like myself. Wow. Right. Okay, Jarrett, repeat after me.
Okay.
Amen, say mine.
Amen, say mine.
You got a little Cleveland in that amen, say mine. Say it again.
Amen, say mine. Amen, say mine. You want me to do it like that?
You good.
You got to do it a little faster, a little higher pitch.
You got it. Okay. That's how it gave me South Memphis vibes. Okay. This is a moment of transparency between you and I. I want you to tell me, what is something that you've recently learned about yourself at this point in your life?
Recently learned about myself?
Recently learned. You've had, quite a bit of transition, and I can tell you're capable of doing a lot of adjusting. But what is something that you've learned recently about yourself?
Well, recent is in the eye of the beholder. So
okay, it is.
I'm gonna go with that.
Go with that.
Recently, what have I learned about myself? I try to be very self-aware. But I guess with my profession, and this isn't necessarily yesterday or last year thing, but recently I would say I realized how difficult it can be to those that love me, and how it's important to try to find a balance to the best of your ability while you're trying to walk and serve in your purpose, which I believe I'm doing, and also have a balance with your social or family life.
Yeah, I'm sure that could be hard.
It's difficult because over the years, whether I was playing or coaching, there's been so many holidays that I've missed, or so many family events or relationship opportunities that I've missed out on because I'm over here serving another group. So that's one thing that I would say.
How old are your kids now?
My kids are 11 and 16.
Okay, that's some pretty impressionable ages there.
Very.
So you're going to get on that plane if need be.
I'm on the plane.
Okay.
Yes.
If need be, you on there. Okay,
yes.
Okay. Repeat that.
Need always be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know it sounds like it's hard, but like you say, you're walking in your purpose.
Yeah.
And you know this.
And that's not easy. but I know it.
That comes with its own challenges.
It does. But when you pray for something and God gives it to us, we have to be grateful for the work that comes along with the work and sacrifice that comes along with it.
It sure is a lot of sacrifice.
Yep.
Believe me, I know, Jarrett.
Amen.
I know. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. One more question.
Okay.
Tell us all about how Sweat Now, Smile Later came about. And you have it on your outfit. Tell us what that is.
It's something that I came up with probably back in 2012, 13. And Sweat Now, Smile Later can be applied to any aspect of life. So it's basically if you put in the work in whatever category or arena or area of life that you're in, if you honestly put in the sweat equity, whether that's actual physical sweat, mental sweat, whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, you'll give yourself an opportunity to be successful. Mm-hmm. So if I'm, from a fitness standpoint, if I'm working out, if I'm eating correctly, if I'm sweating, eventually I'm going to smile and I'm going to see the gains that I want to see, mm-hmm. or the losses that I want to see. Mm-hmm. You know, from an academic standpoint, if I sweat now, if I put this time in study hall, if I go to the academic advisor, if I meet with peers, if I do my homework, if I study, if I do everything right on my test, then my good grades will be my success. Now I can smile. Mm-hmm. You know, for example, I have one of my young men who prior to me getting here wasn't very good academically, performance-based. Very smart young man, but just academically he wasn't doing well. Mm-hmm. So there was a culture change that I installed when I got to Southwest, which had more of a structure that you talked about. I'm very, very, mm-hmm. very structured. So he bought into the structure. And
is this the holistic?
This is part of it.
Okay.
This is part of it. So he bought into the structure, got great grades at the semester. He had a 3.0 for the first time in his life. And was so excited when he could call home and tell his parents about how well he did academically. Mm-hmm. So he put the sweat in, mm-hmm. and he was able to smile later. Yeah. You know, relationships, you put in the sweat equity, you put in the work, you communicate, you're open, you're honest, you compromise, you do all of that with whoever you're in a relationship with. You should be able to smile later on because the relationship should be able to work mm-hmm. if you putting that sweat in. So it's kind of, you know, it transcends mm-hmm. everything, really. If you sweat now, you'll smile later.
So this is a motto you've been going by for a long time.
Very long time.
Because I remember when you started promoting it. Yep. And I was like, okay, I like that. Because I could understand what you were saying.
Right.
And I asked you about the holistic approach. Tell me about that with your program.
The holistic culture at my program, it's academics, athletics, mental health, community service, and social awareness.
Social awareness, I like that piece of it.
Social awareness, academics, athletics, mental health, social awareness, community service. Mm-hmm. And it's like everything that we do has to line up with that. Mm-hmm. And again, remember, I'm trying to raise boys to men. Mm-hmm. So it's important that in each one of those 5 standards that, you know, they have some success in knowledge and information. Mm-hmm. So the academics, that's obvious, you know, study hall, academic advisors, grade checks, talk about it every day. That's the academic side. Mm-hmm. You know, get you tutoring, give you all the resources that you need to be successful academically. Emphasize it as something that's important to me so they understand that it can maybe become important to them, for those that need to have that mentality shift. Mm-hmm. Athletics, basketball is going to take care of itself. Mm-hmm. The mental wellness part, mental health part, we have mental health counselors on campus that come and meet with our guys. The president of the college, Dr. Tracy Hall, when Tyree Nichols' situation just happened, she created a platform for not only for the students but also for the employees. But the student platform was something that I had my students attend, my student athletes attend. You know, from a mental health, mental wellness standpoint, I'm always talking about mental health and mental wellness and being transparent about the situations and things that I've dealt with in my life. I've written curriculums about the mental aspects of sports, you know, mentality shifts, being poised under pressure, keeping your mind and energy right when adversity hits. Like all these things fall into mental health. Mm-hmm. Guys from out of town, they might be homesick. There might be something going on at home. I can talk about my experience. Mm-hmm. So I try to make our space a healthy environment where they feel free to open up and express themselves. If not with me, one of my assistants. If not with the assistants, the mental health counselor. If they bring something to me, I'll say, okay, well, do you need to go talk to somebody, a professional? Like, is this enough? Do you need more? You know, so I've hugged and cried. You know, I've held and cried with some of my guys before, not only here, but in other places.
Yeah.
I've given my testimony and broke down crying in front of my guys.
Okay.
And I'm a man. You know me. Everything about me is manhood. I'm a dude. I'm a man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could be a man and still have emotions and still express those emotions. So that's the mental health side of it. The social awareness side of it. Mikhail Lowry, you know, our friend Mikhail, he came and I interviewed him for the whole student body, but the student athletes, you know, were the core of the audience. And we talked about police brutality. We talked about police reform. We talked about what they can do as students and student athletes to help raise awareness to these things. You know, I'm giving you information. Now, it's up to you what you do with it. I'm not saying you have to go to this and you have to do that. No, I just want to give you information. And then once you have the information, you could do with it what you please. But you need to be aware of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, be aware.
Be aware. Hayward Anderson, a detective, another LeMoyne Owen. You know, he's a detective, Germantown Police Department. He and some of his fellow detectives and investigators, I had them come and speak with our guys, talk about safe interaction between law enforcement and civilians, talking about traffic stops and how to conduct yourself in traffic stops, talking about domestic violence. You know, you and your girl or you and your lady might be having an argument because we know there's a lot of toxic relationships out of here that people are, for whatever reason, interested in. But it might be loud, it might be cussing, it might be slamming the table, hitting the wall, and the next thing you know, a neighbor has called the police. The police show up. You arguing, nah, get off of me. That's my girl. We straight. This us. Now you've assaulted an officer.
Right.
So we did these different scenarios of traffic stops, domestic violence, so that they can see use of force. They talked about use of force. So I just want to make them socially aware. So when and if they are involved in any of these situations, they'll be better prepared to not only hopefully stay out of jail, but stay alive. Community service. You know, we do community service opportunities. We go to schools. We talk to students. We're building blocks in Memphis. It's a nonprofit organization. We partner with them. We go to local high schools to motivate the high school students.
I love it. I love it.
So we just
you got these boys right. You got them right.
I'm just trying to build the structure to do my job.
Yeah.
Like I tell them, I'm here to do my job. You might get mad at me at times because I'm going to hold you accountable. But if I ain't love you, I wouldn't hold you accountable.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're really receiving what you're giving.
They do sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta get in that and get in that.
Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's because there's a mentality shift that has to take place.
Yeah.
And we know we've had habits our whole life, different habits. And when you go from acting or conducting yourself a certain way your whole life, and now you're being introduced to something else, it doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah, it's a process.
Buy-in and trust doesn't always happen like that. So it's a process.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what's going to happen when the Grizzlies call and be like, Mr. Stephens, you ready to come on, coach over here?
Oh, that's what you speaking right now?
Yeah, I'm the Grizzlies. What you going to say?
I'm say, let's talk about it.
Okay. You got your negotiating hat on. Now you got your head coaching job, the AD.
I'm going to say I'm in a great situation right now.
What can you do for me?
But no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say I'm in a great situation right now. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to say.
Right. What you think about All-Star?
I thought it was weak.
I did too.
I thought it was weak.
What has happened to All-Star?
The same thing that kind of has happened. How do I want to say this? The same thing that has happened as generations get younger and younger. I think that no, I wouldn't necessarily.
Was it because they were in Utah? Or they don't have nothing to do with it?
They didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, nobody wants to get hurt, so I get that. But I would have liked to seen it be a lot more competitive than what it does.
Right. It was like they were playing around on the court. There was no.
It was bad. I thought it was bad.
Yeah.
I thought it was really bad. I thought they probably lost a lot of viewers for next year because of how bad and lackadaisical and
yes.
lazy
I'm like, what are they
boring
doing?
It was. Yeah, it was. They could have saved that.
Yeah.
The dunk contest was cool.
Yeah.
It had a little flair. And 3-point contest was cool. It had some flair. But that All-Star game.
Yes. Has it been like that over the last few years
Last
or just
year was
this
kind
year?
of competitive.
Okay.
This year may be the most uncompetitive All-Star game ever.
Right. And I hate that because we had both John Morant and Jaren Jackson representing for the Grizzlies there. And we were really trying to see something.
Well, they still represented.
They did.
They did.
Worked with what they had.
They did what everybody else was doing.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So they represented for the Grizz. They were there. People saw him.
Interesting.
Ja broke his new shoes out.
Right. Now, I like the display they had over there for him.
Big time.
Yeah.
He's a big-time player.
Big time. You got a relationship with Ja?
I don't.
Oh, well, then that ain't nothing but a phone call to one of your many resources.
I don't know.
I'd
love to have an opportunity to do some work with him and have him come out and speak to our guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, we've had Rasheed Wallace while he was still in town. He came out and talked to the guys. Bonzi Wells come out and talk to the guys. So I have some agent friends that may come out and give them some information. So it's good. I have different people. Yeah.
It's coming. Well, Jarrett, I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate that.
I'm so proud of you.
you.
I appreciate that. And I received that, from our days at LeMoyne Owen College.
Yep.
I've learned so much about you on the podcast that I did not know today. Right. But, you've had an amazing career and it's still climbing and excelling.
Yep. I appreciate
and, you're doing the good work with these kids because, this is a different generation.
It is. And with that being said, as leaders, people in leadership situations where they're guiding young adults and kids, we have to understand that it is a different generation. It is a different time. We have to not necessarily change the lesson, but sometimes we got to change the approach.
Definitely the approach.
Change the delivery.
Yeah.
Keep the lesson, but it can't be what it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right, because that ain't going to work.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Well, Jarrett Stephens, the head coach over there at Southwest Tennessee Community College and athletic director, let everyone on the Verbally Effective audience know how they can continue to follow your journey. Give your socials, give websites, whatever you want to give.
Well, the website for Southwest is southwesttennessee.edu. The athletic website you can get to from there. That'll keep you up to date on all of our sports. All their schedules, updates on news and stuff like that. My Instagram is sweatnow_smile later.
Okay, plug
Makes
motto.
sense. And my Twitter is Mr. I Stay Focused.
Mr. I Stay Focused.
Mr. I Stay Focused.
I gotta add you on Twitter, Jarrett.
You do.
Yes, I do, because I think you're gonna be dropping that knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Verbally Effective podcast. We're gonna do something in the future with your students with something live with the podcast, if that's okay with you.
No, that would be great. I actually have a student that is a vlogger.
Okay.
So he does this.
I would love to meet him.
He would love to meet you.
Okay.
So we'll definitely hook that up.
We're going to set it up.
He's a very bright young man, but I have a lot of guys with a lot of personality.
I bet you do. They got a lot of personality now.
A lot of personality. But no, I appreciate you. I thank you for having me on.
Yes,
I'm proud of
welcome.
you, watching your growth and watching your journey. And I look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Yes. Two LeMoyne Owen College alum over here, during Black History Month doing our thing. Mr. Jarrett Stephens, like I said, head coach over there at Southwest Tennessee Community College and athletic director. Never know. The Grizzlies might call him next week. You just never know. But thank you guys for tuning in to hear Jarrett's amazing journey. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on all streaming platforms for Verbally Effective Podcasts with Ina Esco. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
This is the Spotlight Podcast Network.